Oh,
Oh,
interesting standings. Good evening,
thanks.
ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the second day of casting this week for the ozfortress Season 44 Prem regular season. We are now in week 2. Week 1 has gone by very quickly. However, though, I'm back, but joining me tonight is a new face for the first time in a long while. HazDaddySlim, how are you going tonight?
Yeah, mate, I'm well. It actually has been a bit of a while since our last TF2 cast together, but it's plenty. It's a good time to start. Sixes, spring season, and we've got a bit of the spooky season on top of us as well. Halloween just around the corner,
Yes,
as can be
Halloween coming
seen
up.
by the beautiful graphics surrounding us, including the graphics around our standings.
Indeed. So with regards to the standings, obviously this is week 1 now, week 2 of Prem. Again, still early seasons. Want to point that out. So pretty expected for so far what we have. We have Dancy currently number 1, Balls number 2, Wog & Co 3, 4 Digger Family Land, 5 SMYB, 6 Triple T, 7 Ascension, 8 Freak Off, 9 Azerbaijan Technology. And speaking about Azerbaijan, Baku, whatever you want to call it, the game tonight will be Azerbaijan Technology taking against the Freak Off guys. So a close game probably on our cards. Seed currently as of week 2, Seed 8 taking on Seed 9. So yeah, I'm hoping we have a good game, which I feel like we should. But speaking about Azerbaijan and technology, do you want to run us through this roster, please? HazDaddySlim.
Can do. Azerbaijan Technology, of course, A. Lily, Homer, APVC, Campbell, Samson. Samson, of course, on that medic. Yet to register any of the statistics right yet, as well with Lily, so definitely there. Well, first time in for their games this evening. Of course, both teams have only played the one series so far, losing those ones down towards the bottom, the 8th versus 9th, best of the best. But, look, the stats, they don't speak too much of what these players are capable of. First games they've had very early on in the season, so we'll be expecting to see a lot more coming together tonight. But that is your Azerbaijan Technology team. What about the old Freak Off squad?
Freak Off, yes. So this is the team that we did cast in week 1, and it's one of the we mentioned earlier was the team where we saw some returning players when me and Snazzy won it. But with the Freak Off squad, we do have Varna on the combo scout, Dante on the flank, Shupa on pocket, Stam, Roma, Derpy, or Ryan as demo, and Lev as medic. So the same roster ran on week 1, so it looks like they will be coming to Varna combo. I made a highlight at the start of week 1, was watching a bit of Dante streams, saw Varna, I think it was on medic, or could have got the sets wrong, I'm not sure. But however, looks like Varna combo, Lev medic. So they're sticking with the same roster, and hopefully we see a different outcome, because the maps tonight aren't your conventional. We've got Metalworks and Granary. So again, same like yesterday when we cast a high game. 2, I guess, not so played maps in TF2 Ryan Pug season in general, but I feel like that's going to be a lot more technical, so it's not going to be a straight up roll how we saw Process and Snake when we saw Freak Off taking on Dancy last time around.
Yeah, so that does make things a little bit easier for us, of course, when it comes to the player-by-player or just the analysis of things. We've got a bit more spread out. Players are allowed to do a bit more of their own thing, but as you can see, that is Granary and Metalworks. So Granary will be first off the bat, and look, I feel like we could see... I think that when you at least brawl-wise, I think we'll definitely see a lot of back and forths early on. It's sort of finding out how these two teams are going to be playing this one. Of course, not the greatest start of the season for both. So one is going to be coming out with possibly a 2-0. The other, we could split a map east just to be nice. Everyone gets a win. You get a few points on the board. At the end of the day, it's going to be a bit of fun. I can't wait to see what action we're about to have in front of us.
Just like all the midfield teams in F1 say, points are always important, as Azerbaijan is a, Baku, good old references to
How
them.
many
But yeah, regardless
F1
though,
references are we going to get in tonight? That's the big question.
points are important, and that is a true fact, definitely. It's still early days, sorry. And speaking about points and standings, with Prem as well, it is the AFL system, which we saw last season. So top 8 will make playoffs. However, though, during this regular period of play, having an important seed is very important coming into playoffs, partially because if you're more on that lower end, you will be taking on basically either you'll see one or two come that playoff sort of start for AFL. But speaking about Azerbaijan, there is something I do want to point out as well. When we saw those stat pages on it, this is obviously week 2 games that we currently have, so it's still early season, early days. When you look at the stats overall and you compare the players in the server, yes, it looks even all around, but just general base of stats at the moment, Azerbaijan are off to a not so hot start. I have noticed a bit of a trend with their stats that most of their players have a bit of a rough one, but then again, coming from week 1, where they took on the first seeded team from what I recall, it probably would have, not ended too well. So it may look like the stats are, put it this way, terrible or negative. However, I think after week 2 and after, more information comes in, then I think we'll see them probably improve a bit better.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to get tonight a lot of, is just information about a lot of these players and teams. Of course, you can't really go a whole lot off week 1, and both of these squads didn't take a single map or point off anyone that they played last week. I think it was Balls that played, of course, Azerbaijan. Yeah. The other game was, I believe, Dancy beat Freakoff, and that was a 4-0-5-0. Yeah. The other one 5-0-5-0. So, again, look, it's one of those things where both of these teams are fairly, I guess, newer to the Sixers scene. You've got players that have been around for a fair while, of course, but as a cohesion, as a mesh, it is always hard at week 1. But, look, the best thing you could view it as is the only way is up. Realistically, you can't go down below 0, so that is always a positive to take forward here.
I mean, that is always true, but, obviously, Freakoff had an unfortunate start coming into the season, and now hopefully, we mentioned, I feel like this team needs some time to still gel and get used to each other, play together, because returning players, like, for example, obviously, you're not too involved in TF2, obviously, but Schuper is an example on the side of Freakoff where he's come back to play. He hasn't touched much TF2, but this is his first full season back, so it'd be curious to see how he's going along, trekking along, and also sort of getting back into the groove, I guess, of TF2. So, yeah. However, though, taking on Azerbaijan technology as well, when you look at the roster for the side of Azerbaijan, their lineup actually is, I guess, pretty solid all around. You've got 2 very, very good soldiers, Homer and APVC. APVC probably more coming up the ranks in Prem. But you got Homer, who's very, well-versed, he's experienced. Quite a vocal player as well, so curious to see how they play off. And then they also have Lily and Air, 2, again, very vocal scouts. I guess Air is probably, I'd say, more on the sort of vocal end, but curious to see what they can do on Granary being the first map, especially keeping an eye on these mids, especially the soldier bombs, because space is very important in this mid. As soon as if you're not making any moves, your demo takes, God knows how much damage, still gets the pack, but still eats too much damage, then your mid's basically over. It's going to be very hard to retake back into the mid.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the control of that's going to be interesting. I guess another thing that you sort of touched on with the communication with both of these teams is how that's going to affect each to how they're going to do this once tonight. I mean, you've talked about a few players coming back, and I don't feel like you ever lose the skill you've taken with TF2. It maybe takes a couple of games to warm up, get that feel, but the comp setting's a different thing. When you've got the comp setting out, you play casual. No one uses the mic any of the time, maybe very often. None of it's really important information. Comp 6 is, this is a whole different thing, because you're going to be having a lot of people yelling, sort of just keeping the movement going, as would in the ears department, but trying to make sure that you can sort of get the right calls at the right time. So, you're talking about a lot of these players do tend to be quite loud, but it's about the calls that they're making. If they're loud and they're making calls that are correct, cohesive, and, keeping things together, that's going to be probably the difference maker. But we are moments away from getting this one going. As all the players have started to load in, I guess we can probably do some guesses of how this one's going to end up.
And indeed, obviously now with Granary a little bit more technical, I'd put it that way. I feel like the result hopefully not one-sided. I'm hoping not, but with the players in the server and both teams, this is I guess pretty equal game. Yes, I still probably am leaning towards the favor of Azerbaijan technology, not because I like Baku. It is a terrible track in the game. But no, look, just based off these players, and most of these people have played together at some point within TF2, like Campbell Homer played on that Exodia lineup. Air was in there for occasional, periods of time. And then they got APVC and Lily on that squad now as well. So look, will hand to Azerbaijan, and most likely I'll go 4-2 probably.
4-2. You know what? I'll lean the same way, but I don't know if we've got a 4-2 or 4-3 or.
I mean, I feel like it's going to be slower compared to your Process and Snake, but yeah, we got the first mid underway.
That we do. Derpy's going to be leading the way off the front and trying to get these sticky set up for any of these soldiers that are going to be making their way in. It is actually quite a slow start from everyone. It's a group up from Azerbaijan Tech, so it is going to be Freak Off to get their initial way onto the front there. Dante's going to be diving down towards this soldier that's been hitting the top sides. Homer gets the one, but the trades are out enough there for Vanna and Dante to keep this one going nicely. Stan follows up on Campbell. They've taken big control well. Aya's still doing some decent damage on the other side, but he's probably going to have to fall back. Keep the med up at the very least. Derpy's trying to grab them before they get out. But it does look like Freak Off are going to take this one. Lilia, though, grabbing Derpy just before they manage to get back towards the points. They might not even think about fighting this one.
Yeah, actually, surprisingly turning a bad situation around and turning into actually a pretty positive situation. Lev just managed to get Uber in the nick of time there. However, though, trade's going to be a little bit better for the side of Freakov, which looks like the post-Uber for the side of Azerbaijan, just ending in this depth corner position. And this mid-fight is still going on. Point still hasn't been captured. And looks like Azerbaijan actually have made a good recovery from their disastrous mid-fight earlier and are now forcing the side of Freak Off out of mid. Nice pipe on Campbell onto the scout there. And it looks like, yeah, Azerbaijan getting frags. Red HP all over the side of Freak Off here. And it looks like Azerbaijan are actually going to take this mid fight and turn around full 180.
Yeah, they do that incredibly well in the end. I mean, unfortunately for Freak Off, it looked like it was putting it all together what they needed. Derpy goes forward just a little bit too far, and you've got to get credit there. Aya and Lilia were absolutely fantastic on their scouts because they were left with just Samson after the initial soldier bombing really didn't get anything done, but they managed to turn that one around. Big pick there. AVPV is flying as Derpy Sticky Trap was not ready for that one. They should still take the 4. However, you feel like if they're going to be going for last year, they're going to have to just back up a little before they can go straight into this one here.
Yeah, even Ubers now, so both teams are stabilizing. So at least, both teams, they live with the medics, they both have heals, 6 plays up for both sides here. So now we've got a stalemate. And APVC actually committing on the Spy. Unusual weapon of choice for a Spy, definitely with the kunai. He is remarkably weak, put it that way. He's one shot, so it'll be curious to see how he uses it, but he does get backstab. He does get that overheal, and looks like he is going to be committing on this, going through this lunchbox position, dropping down, does spot the medic here, so probably going to be waiting for a bit of a distraction play coming out from his team here, already making the call, going behind the medic, does actually get a medic, and does get scout as well! Manages to get 2 actually off that, get the demo, doesn't manage to get a 30, and that triggers the push from the side of Azerbaijan already into last year, and this hopefully is a conversion. 2 plays up for the side of Freakov here, and surely Azerbaijan managed to get it off the play of APVC, which they do, and that is the first round to the side of Azerbaijan technology.
Oh, you don't see that very often, especially this early on. The spy double on the kunai. Fantastic work there, and Freakov just weren't ready for it, unfortunately. And Stan managed to get that double to actually keep things interesting, because Dante's Sentry also got APVC, but they managed to finish that one off. A nice double up from Aya, and the Uber they have is the difference maker there in the end. And Freakov, well, I mean, look, if you think about how that mid play could have gone, they should have been down towards their own 5th at the other end. Doesn't happen out, and now they've got to try and worry about turning this around. You've got to put the last game in towards the back of your head. Varna's already found themselves a double very nicely. Super and Dante pulling that out together. Campbell, though, doing a little bit there. Lilia pushing the extra one back as they're all sort of just jumping around the crates. You feel like Freakov have to sort of get forward here and put the momentum together they are still getting the numbers just slightly ahead, but Azerbaijan Tech, they're keeping enough alive here, and again, it's these scouts that are doing damage.
Yeah, the med does go down in the process, but both teams lose the medic, so it is even all round here. However, a bit of a late death for the side of Samson on the side of Azerbaijan. But actually, as I say that, mid-fight start off terribly for the side of Azerbaijan, but just their scouts, Air and Lilia, able to recover these mid-fights. Faster spawn though for Lev on the side of Freakov, so he does have a slight bit of ad there, roughly 25% or so. But Campbell going for these high callouts are actually working out. Actually, it's quite a smart play because he's on the high ground, he sees the whole mid, he's able to sort of sticky out or, you know, call damage on, you know, what he does, what he stickies and pipes, but he gets some nice damage as well onto the medic and the combo of the side of Freakov. But however, first frags and kills actually going to the side of Freakov for a lot of these mids. But yeah, still very good recovery from the side of Azerbaijan.
Yeah, the recovery's been really nice. Freakov, they'll be disappointed with how things have happened so far because, again, they've had control of the mid-fights. It hasn't exactly been anything domination-wise, but they've just been one ahead. But it has been Lilia and AR. Lilia especially has been fantastic on that scout. Both of them doing so much damage, and they've just won them out a few fights that they really looked like they were going to be dropping. But now we get ready to set this one together. Everyone starts getting themselves set up. But this one's, I was speaking of Lilia for the first side. This time it's not happening. It's Dante and Stam. Double up on there. I can only find the one, and they have managed to at least force the Uber out. So that's a little bit wasted. Still, they might be able to still get this 1-1 forward. Samson's now looking, checking to make sure there's nothing coming in from above. Do they use it here? I guess they have to at some point. They finally pop it down. They spread between their last two remaining players to dive on in. They're chasing down this scout, but they're not finding the damage they were hoping for. And Vanna is staying alive. Vanna's getting the kills. Could almost be a double up here as well. They do the job. The Uber can't find it. Stam, the rest come in. Lilia's just trying to find some extra damage, and now they're swinging it back the other way. What is going on? Another mid drop could be coming through as Homer's there. Vanna's gone, and they will get it. Lev actually does get APVZ on the way out, but what is going on right now?
Very messy fight. At the end of the day, though, at least the med lives to the side of Azerbaijan, and they are able to take this yard position here, med down to the side of Freakov here. So very, very scrappy fight. Lana doing a really good job, as you highlighted, getting those sort of multi-kills there. But now Azerbaijan taking this lobby position there and have basically full Uber out there, and yeah, it looks like Freakov back on last year got the NG set up, so they are going to bunkering down on this last point here. Final bit of Uber getting grinded for the side of Azerbaijan, and it looks like they are going, look like they want to actually take this through a lunchbox, going for this high ground push.
One together. Dante's just managed to get the level 2 sentry up for the last second there as they pop that Uber, and that, well, sentry is going to be going down pretty quickly. Now they jump on towards the point. Someone's going to come out and force here. They managed to push it off to the other side. Super's got one, but Campbell to double up. It should be enough there. You would think Dante Vanna keeping it, the all come together. They get picks, they get some, they keep it alive for a little bit, but in the end, Azerbaijan Tech will get that one done. They'll take a 2-0 lead. Got 17:30 remaining here. First to 5 on top of that, but Freakov, they're doing the right things, at least to start off a lot of these fights, but they just can't quite finish it off. They can't take advantage. They need it to come through here. They need to get this mid-fight won.
Yeah, I mean, Azerbaijan, these mid-fights yesterday are winning, but oh, okay, it's not what you want to see. Campbell going down super, super early. Samson just stuck on this high position, and now this mid-fight has gone terribly wrong. So no mid-fights won just of yet for the side of Azerbaijan. They're already out. They are long gone, and they are now, yeah, back in this lobby position, and they are actually, like, they're just running all the way back almost to their last point, but they are just setting up in lobby here. But two scout down for this. Oh my god, scout. Oh my, oh, that is that.
Well,
might be a bit of a mistake, I feel like, on the side of, or miscommunication on the side of Azerbaijan. Very costly one as well. Samson going down on like around 80% Uber, and now full Uber out to the side of Freakov here.
Thing is, though, Lilia's been around the points. They still haven't taken mid because Lilia was just sitting on it for the entire time behind. They'd gotten that one pick. Again, they get the drop of the med, so that's fine, but they've still got to worry about this scout that's coming around. They're finally now going to get that. I'm not sure if Lilia's gone. I think they've managed to get back to where they wanted to, but there is a soldier set up just above them. I don't think they're aware about. Lilia, in fact, still got switched over to that engineer. Stam, in the meantime, has got picked off APVC, which I think was that lurking soldier, so that's not pulled off there. And now they've just got to be careful. They don't want to lose mid. They want to just keep, fight this point. They don't want to give away too much. Don't allow anything to come together if it can. Well, they were thinking about that engineer play, but they're realizing now they can find this one. And now it is just waiting to see who's going to be that first drop, who's going to be the first one to either engage or go forward. And it feels like Freakoff, they've just taken their time here. They're falling back, they're regrouping. Azerbaijan Tech, that means they've got a little bit more time here to do the exact same thing themselves as the Ubers start to come together for both sides.
Yeah, and look, Uber finally basically just going to even out here. We see a bit of a soldier play coming up from the side of Freakoff. Unfortunately, no connection there with any sort of force. But yeah, it looks like Ubers are basically just going to even out anyway for both sides here, pretty much. And yeah, it looks like Azerbaijan working their way, into this midpoint here. And oh my god, nice pipe onto Campbell there, and surely a possible trade might be on the card. A lot of pressure. Uber gets popped out and nice milk coming out from the side of Samson here. Uber gets popped out on the side of Azerbaijan, and Azerbaijan are forcing out that is left caught out on the escape there, and very, very good recovery. Very, very good Uber exchange coming out from the side of Azerbaijan, and they got actually the medic and a scout, so a key pick actually out of that, and also retaining a very good Uber ad around 30%.
It's looking pretty nice. Now, I have to question what was going on with Schuper, because he went deep before that fight actually got underway, got picked off, and I'm not entirely sure what the play for that one was, but I mean, they were initially in a 5v6. I mean, he got back to, get into the fight, but unfortunately, when you're already starting a man behind there, it's going to make things a lot more difficult. And with Schuper going down yet again early on, and they've got themselves going towards this last point, and this is where things are going to be looking very rough, because they've already got that Uber med advantage. They're going to try and get themselves the sentry up, but now Azerbaijan Tech, they're just waiting to see if they'll go or start to fall into this one. It's popped on, and now the push in for this side here. Their stickies start to go out. The level 2's been taken out by Campbell. They're trapped in towards the indoors here. Dante trying to get forward. They're up almost to 3/4 of the way. Dante finds the one. Campbell, though, has got themselves a kill onto Stam. Dante's just playing around this point, seeing if he can find anything. The Uber pop on the blue team as well there for Freakoff. It manages to look like it's been enough. Dante finds that one, and it does seem like Azerbaijan Tech, they are going to fall off. They don't lose quite everyone, and the mid stays up. So again, they've still got a bit of ad there, but then Schuper comes on in. He's been hit and miss, but that one dive in is perfect, and Campbell's out of there.
Nice little two-piece rocket there onto Campbell. Campbell staying in a little bit too long, but Uber actually almost coming up to the side of Azerbaijan, but actually said that they might be overstaying their welcome here. Samson playing in the position to possibly back out there, but actually Azerbaijan choosing to stay in a little bit closer. They're actually on 8% Uber, and I think they know for a fact they actually have probably a slight amount of ad, and it looks like Air is calling for an aggressive push, going for either Z or Lunchbox here. He's going for the wide play, and already in, looks like they have been spotted here, so this Uber needs to be used as soon as they can, but it might just turn into a trade at some point, because it is just going to even out there, and looks like a side of Azerbaijan have taken this lobby control here, and already are working their way into last year, playing this left-hand side, already getting space here, and we do see a point play already coming out from the side of Azerbaijan. Samson trying to go for an arrow there, does miss the arrow on the soldier in the air. Uber gets popped out on the side of Freakoff here, however, no Uber yet for the side of Azerbaijan. Uber gets bobbed out now for the side of Azerbaijan, and this should turn out better for the side of Azerbaijan here. Already on the last point there, point getting captured. They need to touch it, they can't shoot stickies onto it.
That they can't. I think Dante at the last second, realizing what was happening there, couldn't get back across in time. Azerbaijan Tech will take out the third here, and well, I wouldn't say it's been domination, but they haven't really allowed Freakoff to get themselves near a point so far. Closest they got was that mid, and then they got towards that fourth, and then they were thinking about setting up for the fifth, but then they lose Schuper. They just overplay things just a little bit, and that's what it's been so far. They're getting ads, but then maybe just getting a little bit too aggressive off that. The one thing that's worked pretty well, though, is Schuper is hitting their shots when needed. They go down, but the pick onto Campbell's perfect. Dante and Vana are going to push those up as well. So it's Iron Lilia with Samson. How many times have we seen that so far? So you wouldn't actually rule anything out here for them to hang around the mid-side, but this time they will fall away. Freakoff. That one seems a bit cleaner, and now they want to continue with this one here. They want to go forward. Bed is going to stay about the same on both ends. A little bit of advantage for Azerbaijan Tech, but you feel like they'll just even each other out if they go for a hit. But they need to do this quickly here. They need to get a few together, because they're down 3. There's only 10:55. Oh, I was going to say even less than that remaining for this map in general.
and these mid fights are actually surprisingly going better for Freakov, I'd have to say. Azerbaijan, yes, they're getting to mids, but it's the Freakov mids that actually are paying off, and we do see a fast play coming from Schuper here. Nice little surf by Samson, but unfortunately does drop at the very end. Schuper with these amazing plays coming out from his soldier, and these a drop for drop. That is not what you want to see, and that is just a collapse for the side of Freakov here, and actually late death means early spawn for Samson here, which means he can start getting Uber, and Uber before the side of Lev on the side of Freakov, but actually Lev does manage to start killing as soon as he can there. So slight ad, but it's pretty much even all out, evened all out for both sides here, and looks like a bit of desperation play coming out from Freakov, but mid secured for the side of Azerbaijan. Again, what turned out to be a bad situation turned 180 again. Azerbaijan getting good recovery for these situations they're stuck in, but we do have Dante on the sniper in this forward position for now.
Yeah, it's sort of a strange one there. Again, you feel like they had control, and they were in the sort of second mind because you're down a couple when you think about that next fight, and then they just get caught in a position where, do we want to continue this fight? Do we want to fall back and regroup? And they get stuck halfway. They lose Lev, and again, they had the Uber ad there. They could have even just popped it and taken those fights around there, because they would have still been forward and had that 3-2 advantage when it comes to the points, but unfortunately falls away from them. Azerbaijan Tech again in front. It feels like, again, they just seem to have that one step ahead of control. Both Ubers ready to go. All players ready for this one. Lily's going to be the one popped in, diving forward, doing some decent work on towards. Well, it was originally Derpy. They are saved, so the Ubers are traded, but now it comes down to who can do the most damage to the next points there. And it's Homer and Lily are finding the two. Stam and Super, both soldiers out of the equation. Dante, though, manages to do this very nice work themselves. Trades off for the double soldier as well. So now it's left with 4v4. They're continuing to try and define them on this point. I was going to say Campbell had to be careful there for half a second. They still want to keep this fight forward, trying to get this stickies loaded towards the door. Who's going to be the first down? It's going to be Vanna and Dante. The scouts do the work there, and now Freakov an advantage. Maybe can start getting them back towards mid. It's a 3v2, and I was going to say there, Campbell's getting themselves very aggressive. Samson can't do much about that to keep them up, and now they're on the run back towards mid.
Yes, Campbell is staying a touch too long, does get caught out, but Uber, actually, Samson is doing a really good job with his healing as well, and he's almost getting Uber 90%. However, though, regardless, it's just probably going to even out at the end of the day here, and looks like Azerbaijan are giving up this midpoint there and restabilizing in their yard position here, and looks like, yeah, both teams get Uber here, so now it's basically stuck back to square one, back to even Ubers here. However, though, I do want to see if Schuper and them do want to go for another sort of fast speed shot off that ramp area. It's very common you see a soldier do that, but also it's a really good sniper angle. And we do see a bit of a sack play coming out from the side of Freakov here. That is Campbell getting taken out, but two soldiers down for the side of Freakov here. So a possible trade might be on the cards for both sides.
Again, like, I understand the dive in and they get the one, but it just feels like the trade-off's not worth it at the moment. You're losing the two soldiers, even though, yes, you're dropping that demo man, and Campbell's been in very good form so far this game. It's just not really worth it for the fact that you need to get yourself a few points on the ball when it comes to the map control here. And you have to now fall away because you have to go back towards mid. You've got to group up, wait for your soldiers to get back in, which they're going to get back in at about the same time. But now you've also lost the Uber advantage that you might have had. So Azerbaijan Tech, they're going to go straight into this mid fight. They've got the Uber ready. They should take this one pretty easily, you'd imagine.
Yeah, and Azerbaijan basically having full Uber, and they do spot the soldier in this position on the lamppost. Nothing to be said there. Unfortunately, does get taken out there. However, though, Uber actually slowly fading away from the side of Azerbaijan, so they need to make a move quickly here. Already going through this wide position, taking the flank route here, and looks like they are going full wide, going up to lunchbox position. They're probably just gonna have to pop through if they do choose to take it. Uber ad has now faded. It is even Uber's here. They don't know it yet, but now Uber getting popped out for the side of Azerbaijan here. They do see a scout behind as well, so that has definitely been called here, and Uber gets popped out for the side of Freakov. Nice little force by Campbell there. However, it is a bit better for the side of Freakov here, and they don't manage to get the second point there, and that is also the med going down for the side of Azerbaijan. So players down, 3 players down, sorry, for the side of Azerbaijan, and do see a flank play. Three players are stuck in this position. This is not ideal, and I think they should get cleaned up here.
Yeah, and imagine unless Lilia can start to pull off a bit here, they managed to get the one, but that is all, and well, So Campbell, I think, is back towards the other side. So they should get mid back. But again, you just feel in these positions where you had Freakoff and Azerbaijan actually, they decently got that flank behind with the Uber pop. And I mean, they were a second quicker on that lever in the end. I mean, that was a force Uber, but also managing to just pull that one out. And then the actual play of from Freakoff. Well, I mean, when you lose that Uber out, of course, but then actually follow up with the Uber that you've been forced to do, get those picks you're after. So now they've got themselves a little bit of advantage, but just as I say, that Super's just gone wandering on into ABBZ. Just seemed a little bit clueless about where he would be sitting around those stairs. He should be aware of that position. And meanwhile, that has gone all the way forward into the other end. So they've just completely committed off this Uber. They get the one, but now it does seem like it's going to be a bit more... Well, again, you're missing that one on the other side, and then Homer in from behind does get the one there. They're keeping numbers advantage. When Azerbaijan Tech, they've got that closer, at least respawn side. They should be fine, it seems, for the time being. But Freakoff, they're keeping this one interesting. They're trying to get their first, well, not just for the game, but also for this spring series.
Yes, and Azerbaijan, this is the first time we've actually seen them now, finally, on the back foot. They're out being forced back to the last tier, but Uber slightly better for the side of Freakoff, having a little bit of ad, but I think it's just going to even out at the end of the day, and looks like they are. Both teams are doing a really good job building their Uber here, and yeah, I think it will even out probably shortly. Yeah, looks like Azerbaijan should be able to get it for this last full post, most likely. Uber coming up soon for the side of Freakoff, and Uber gets finally popped out from both sides. Actually, though, two players getting dropped in that Uber, Demo and Soldier, but two Soldiers getting taken out for the side of Azerbaijan, so it is even all around. But there's three players, including the Mayor as well, taken out for the side of Freakoff. Yeah, so really good recovery from Azerbaijan, and the Soldier coming in from the Hail Mary, and looks like they are just sort of trying to all in for the medic. Nice little movement from Campbell, and the point being captured, and they do manage to stop it in the nick of time there, and Azerbaijan managed to hold on to that last point. Heavy wanting to have a bit of a sanger on the point there. He's a bit of a lunch break now. Finally, Azerbaijan push out onto this, this lobby position here.
Super again. Super's got to be just careful, just to get back. Goes for a little bit of an aggressive play there to see if he can maybe find one before they retake that point. Not going to be happening. Dante almost pulled off the C9 there from behind, almost coming together, as again we will be eyeing these pops with this one here. It's Uber putting enough damage in, and it is the stickies coming together from Campbell. Damage, Lilia there to back it up as well. And that is a solid fight there from Azerbaijan Tech, and that one just basically decides that if there were any thoughts of this one to be continuing too much longer, well, now that basically sums it all up there. Complete control in towards that one. They'll take mid, they'll continue to roll on forward. They've got themselves a little bit of that Uber ad as well. Freakoff desperately trying to get that going as quickly as possible there as they'll spawn back in for this side. Stan is going to be a little bit late off that because he had gone for that sniper player, so that could work against him a little bit. He should still be able to regroup with his teammates there before any damage is done. But here we stand once again, 3-2, and Lilia's got Shupa. Goes in, aggression, it's paid off, but when it hasn't, it's just been absolute disaster here for Freakoff, who again find themselves in a 5v6, and, well, Derpy, the sticky trap gets that one, at least giving themselves back into the 5v5.
Yeah, and then as well, nice building coming out from the side of Freakoff, but unfortunately the med gets taken out there for his nice little movement there. 99% Uber, it feels so close. And yeah, Azerbaijan cleaning up frags here. Frags doing the favor. He should be able to get this last one there. Going to the melee kills, and yeah, 4-0. Azerbaijan in the driver's seat now on map point here. Like overall, Freakoff, they have good like ideas and strategies in place, like especially in mid fights. Yes, Freakoff are actually doing a bit better in that area, but it's just, I guess, converting after that is what's struggling. I think what they're struggling with, especially some of these trades as well.
Yeah, the trades have been the thing that sort of caught them out, and it feels like Azerbaijan Tech, they're just able to, in those moments where, you know, they've pretty much lost, I feel like, all opening mid fights each time, but they've just managed to, you know, fall off and be able to regroup and then find the picks on the other side. And we speak about picks, and that's the one that you really care about as Lev goes away. Lilia will find another one onto Stam. Derpy's still hanging around here. He does have the stickies placing close towards what was going to possibly be maybe a pickup there. Doesn't happen. And they're going to be dropped off again, Azerbaijan Tech. This time, oh, I've got to say, I was saying they weren't getting clean mid-fight wins. That's probably the first one we've seen. They've actually come out on top with about 3 or 4 player ad. Can quickly go on to the next. They might even possibly get this uncontested. But, again, they might just wait a little bit longer for the rest to get here. Homer surfing in very nicely, and they will. So they're going to go straight towards last. They've got themselves Uber ad, and it feels like they're about to get themselves number 5 and map and match point on the board.
Yeah, Freakoff now finally back in this last year, but they're actually doing a really good job building here. Azerbaijan taking a little bit slower pace into this last point, however, to make sure they clear things very thorough. And Uber getting popped down on the side of Azerbaijan. However, though, Lev almost having that Uber and that T9 touch the point there, and yeah, first map going in favor of Azerbaijan. But Lev was almost an Uber. They're actually doing a really good job grinding that, and if they were to get that, then yes, it could be a different outcome. But unfortunately, if you don't touch the point there, I mean, you lose the game. And that's, I think, they kind of forgot the point was there, looks like it, and forgot to touch it or edge onto it at least of some sort.
Yeah, I don't think they realised that the sentry wasn't actually in a position to do that much damage towards the point. I'm not sure where the exact placement was there at the end, but didn't really touch anyone because the Uber just went slightly forward. Everyone else just stayed sort of around the point. They realised they could just walk onto it. Didn't quite come together as they were hoping for. So have a check of the logs, the statistics that stood out for us here. And, well, Lilia was the biggest standout. I mean, so many times they were the difference maker in those fights. Fantastic on that scout damage as well. Fantastic on that side there. I mean, Freakoff had their own moments. I've got to say, Dante also looked incredibly confident on the scout. Even Vanna. I want to say scouts across the board for both teams looked very nice. I guess the real sort of difference maker was probably just Campbell up against Derpy. I don't think Derpy played things poorly in any sense, but Campbell with that just extra damage they were getting, and especially when it was coming together, like the kill-death ratio looking very solid. But, yeah, I mean, overall, it felt more even than a 5-0, honestly.
It definitely did. I do agree with you on that. But also, do want to point out something as well, about Derpy versus Campbell. He was, a bit of a rough game. Your Demo going 157 and, 6 for 12, not ideal, definitely. But Campbell, we saw, especially using default pipes, the stock pipes on a map like Granary, is very painful, especially how often people are grouped together in that very tight lobby position on that second point there. You can imagine the rollers going around everywhere. But yeah, definitely big highlights would be Azerbaijan scouts Lilia and Air doing a really, really good, especially his cleanup mids. But even when you look at the mid fights, Azerbaijan at the end actually came out on top with 3 mid-fight wins. But Freakoff, though, winning 2, and I think most of their mid-fights probably were better, but then just converting, as I said earlier, was not their forte. And then as well, there's not like your soldiers on the side of Freakoff. I think Sam and Shupa are just doing what they can. Shupa 9 for 24. So, I mean, he's just doing his job going and sacking. But when you look at, I think he got probably 2. I think he got 2 plays there where actually got like the med force or drop of some sort, from what I recall. He got 1, I think, med drop. Yeah, he got 1 med drop. Sorry. But then the rest, I think, were just sort of desperation, and unfortunately, or just sort of, I guess, almost feeding sort of plays from Freakoff, or just sort of desperation. Yeah. Pretty much put it that way.
Yeah, it was sort of in that position where I could understand what they were doing for most of them, and I think for Shupa, they really would have wanted to get the double ups for a lot. They were getting, when they were going in and they were getting the picks, they weren't bad picks, but the problem was it was 1 for 1, and then that's where themself and Stam probably didn't gel as well together because there wasn't that immediately follow up from Stam, or Stam just seemed to be in a little bit later, and then they couldn't get that second, and it just seemed a lot of the time Shupa would get a pick, but then him and Stam are both dying pretty much afterwards. So any advantage they think they're going to be getting was just immediately out the window.
You are right with that as well. That's what I saw. Definitely Shupa and Sam going in, and then both soldiers die. 2 plays down, and then maybe someone else might bleed or whatnot. But also, especially some of the trades on the side of Freakoff, I feel like are still a bit 50-50. Some of them, they dropping a few players here and there, so maybe a few things still to work on in that area as well. But to be honest, some of the mid fights, they actually aren't too bad for Freakoff on Granary, to be honest. And I feel like Metalworks, who knows, we might see the same thing. It might be a different picture. But yeah, the scouts on the side of Azerbaijan, Aaron Lilia, are the ones to watch out. They are playing incredibly well, especially just sort of turning around these mid fights where they're not supposed to, win or sort of retake back in, but they find a way anyway, and they, manage to get back into the mids. But then when you look at the side, the one thing I do also want to notice is, I feel like Shupa on Metalworks, I feel like we can still expect some sort of fast plays, especially sort of going for these med plays. He's actually, surprisingly, his rockets are actually very, very crisp, and they're actually doing a really good job trying to sort of go for the med. But then when you look at the soldier duo on Homer and APVC, I feel like they're actually doing a really, really good job and doubling up and going for these sort of plays. I feel like they're just a lot more coordinated, especially that one crunch play we saw in Granary when Freakoff were backing out on that round from Death Corner.
Yeah, coordinated and probably even a bit more conservative. I think they sort of realised early on that Freakoff, like, Stam and Super especially, they're going in pretty early. They're trying to make a play. They're trying to, put that damage on top of, finding that pick, basically. And I think both of them sort of realised is, well, if they're both going in, they both fall afterwards, then that allows us to then dive into a team that is lacking any sort of soldier backup. So then you got to be relying on your scouts, and it puts your pressure onto Derpy as well to do a lot more. And I feel like that was also, Derpy didn't exactly have the greatest game, but you've also got to think in their position, they probably feel like they were just missing a whole lot when it came to, backup from soldiers. They would pretty much by their lonesome off that, they have to play a little bit more conservative. They can't really get the damage for that they're hoping for. Your med just stays a bit further back, or they want to play with the scouts.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be, for this one here especially, that depending on how things are going to come together. I'm hoping for Azerbaijan Tech, like they've got to be careful here. They don't want to rest on their laurels. Look, you took the last one 5-0, but look, Freakoff showed moments. They can definitely pull off something here to make this a 1-1 series, but again, it's little things. It's just, coordinating. It's these mid-fights. It's being able to drive home the advantage. So hopefully, you'll put the first map down to a warm-up, and they can try and put something together here in our second.
I mean, I feel like Freakoff just need to sort of, go next, focus on Metalworks now. But also, it's still early in the season, yes? So you could use these maps as, things they can look back on or whatnot. But also, I feel like the side of Azerbaijan, their scouts are just hitting their shots. When you even compare this, when you look at the scouts on the side of Freakoff, you still have Dante doing what he can and Ivana sort of supporting there. But it feels like, overall, I feel like Azerbaijan are, in control for a lot of this, especially, as I said, their scouts, they're doing a lot. And I think this is a really good, as well, confidence boost. After, obviously, week 1, yes, you versed the first-seeded team, it is what it is. But getting a 5-0 on Granary, and again, one of the more complicated maps, I think is a good confidence boost for the side of Azerbaijan. But obviously, we're just waiting for ready ups to come out on both sides here. But I guess, is there anything prediction-wise you want to say? Do you think Freakoff can make it an even 1-for-1 series? Or do you think Azerbaijan, based off that Granary performance, are probably going to take this 2-0 in week 2 maps?
Yeah, they're probably leaning towards the 2-0. I think Freakoff definitely have an opportunity here to, and again, the pressure's going to be on Azerbaijan especially if they drop the first one, because then they're down the 1-0, then they've got to be the ones working back. And look, there's just moments, there's some players that just need to stand up and do a couple of things here, and well, that's the thing as well. You've got to think, are the scouts going to be doing as much damage as we saw in Granary? Are we going to be seeing the same type of performance there? Because you only have to be slightly off to, swing things in the direction. I think I'll still lean towards a 2-0. What about yourself?
To be honest, I'm probably in the same boat. I think Azerbaijan should be able to take this on Metalworks. Convincingly, maybe still back and forth with some of these mid fights, but look, I'm leaning towards Azerbaijan, probably like 4-1 sort of scoreline, maybe even a 5-0 if they show what they showed on Granary. But into this first mid.
Well, we're about to find out if our predictions are correct or it's egg in our faces. Well, all we know, at least for this one. It's going to be incredibly interesting, quite like the first map here, as Campbell down on the ground waiting for this one here. Derpy, that's sticky over towards left side here as we start these fights towards the first point, waiting to see who's going to be the first to dive in here. Homer looking towards where the med is, and he gets that one down. Lev and Schuper both going drop. Vanna manages to find Campbell, but that is not going to be enough at any day of the week, and they've all fallen to pieces. Dante actually manages to get one, and another one from Vanna. I don't know how the scouts have actually managed to get two in the end there. Both soldiers dropped from Azerbaijan Tech, but in the end, pretty solid mid performance. They take that one down. The immediate loss of Lev there, who, I don't know, seem to be playing possibly a little bit too aggressive, maybe not expecting the demos or the soldier dive in on top of them that close, and you want to try and play with your team on that one, but they're already thinking about the engineers, so last point push here, and solid take, and they're going to try and get this scoreboard rolling over pretty early by the looks of things.
Yeah, Azerbaijan already in the driver's seat, and Freakov back into last seat. Got the NG, got the sniper as well, so they got the full little last hold going on. But I feel like Freakov, they were going for, as what some people call submarine play. They're just charging at them, just sort of go full aggressive. But then Campbell taking that high ground already, you know, sort of neutralize it. You're not getting high. It's going to be really hard to win the mid. But already into last stage, Schuper trying to cause a bit of distraction, does get taken out of the process here. And Uber already faded on the side of Azerbaijan, but point play coming in, already capped there, and first round on Azerbaijan. Really, really good. Yeah, really good mid fight coming out from them. And yeah, first round on the board already. So good start for the side of Azerbaijan.
Yeah, and again, you look towards Lilia, 5 kills in that first one there, 3 assists on top of that. Everyone just chipping in, doing what needed to be done. You can see Dante and Vanna over for Freakoff. Managed to keep things, it seemed a little bit interesting a bit, but they at least got 2 drops on towards the soldiers. But realistically, the fight was already done at that point. So now, what do you do if you're Freakoff? How are you going to try and rectify things here? You want to maybe not be as aggressive forward, but again, Schuper this time doesn't even get ready for a fight and towards the air. That one's from above. Vanna manages to straight back on Campbell, but again, you got to be careful about Lev in the background. Dante actually does deal with Homer, who only realized at the last second that's where the med was sitting. And this time around, Freakoff, I believe, should take mid. Azerbaijan Tech, they think about hanging around, but they are just going to fall back on this one. Keep the 4 up, keep the mid up, importantly. So Uber will stay the same on both ends, but Freakoff, good response after, I'm going to say, going down pretty quickly in that first one there.
Yeah, and even Uber's now, so for both teams here, it looks like, yeah. Azerbaijan, it's dying low HP.
That was, he was running off there as well. APVC, yeah, what a shot.
And then it looks like we might see possible, okay, probably don't go that way with your scout, but yeah, it looks like Azerbaijan just resetting onto this second point here. But yeah, I do want to point as well, it is interesting, it looks like Freakoff, they're doing a double model soldier, because the soldier's on the side of Azerbaijan are actually just bombing on the mids, which is definitely what you want on a map like, you know, Metalworks, but in general, any sort of 6s map. And then Freakoff immediately responds with the counter bomb, but it's just, I feel like just a single soldier bomb, which isn't as effective, personally. But they did get the mid fight at the end of the day, and it looks like, yeah, already trying to make some space, trying to force the medic. That is Samson getting taken out. Schuper, nice little play coming out from him. Then that is what you want to see from the side of Freakoff there. Really good and really important pick. And now Freakoff are in the driver's seat, should be able to retake this second point here. Lilia already going to the NG, and Freakoff already working their way through alley into Valley now.
Got to put this one together, though. They waste a bit of time getting things set up, but you want to they want to be careful about this one. We've seen what's happened when they've managed to get themselves a slight advantage. They haven't been able to pull it together, but this time around, should be able to take this point pretty easily. Till to last, they'll have a chance off here. Haven't had to use Uber yet as well, so this is where things will come together. Campbell, though, getting Schuper's going to make things a little bit more difficult still. They've got everything they could ask for, at least when it comes to most of the bits here. Sentry's bits taken down. Derpy's getting the stickies out towards the point, looking to do the damage there. Who's going to be the first to dive on? Who's going to be 1-4? But Homer gets Dante, and again, Freakoff. They're in a position where they can do a bit of damage, but they just can't find that pick. They need to get forward, and they have to be forced off yet again. Uber got used, didn't really come into any fruition there apart from taking that sentry. And now Azerbaijan Tech, they're going to feel like they can just walk back in towards this one, make it the 3v2, but they were thinking about the sticky trap, but didn't think of it too much in the end. Stam, in the meantime, has been taken out in the background. But it's a nice little pick, at least, to keep things interesting. It will stop you to think the roll. And maybe they still want to take this fight in.
Yeah, they're actually storming back onto this second point here, which frags though, only just Homer getting taken out on the side of Azerbaijan. So yeah, good retake, and now forcing the side of Azerbaijan back onto their last point there, and Uber shortly coming out on the side of Freakov. Freakov need to get one of these clean last pushes. They can't. They're losing one super early, which I feel like is affecting them a little bit with these last pushes. So they need to have all 6 players present for the super, which looks like they are, and finally going for a standard push through this shallow position there, and no point capture. Yeah, Stam doing a little bit of a 1v1 in the back line. They are incredibly low for the super there. Point getting back up action, and this actually has turned terribly for the side of Freakov, and Uber getting popped out on the side of Azerbaijan there. And looks like, yeah, Lev staying in a little bit deep with his scout there, and they're having to capture this second point. I do see a little bit of a back cap attempt happening on the side of Azerbaijan, and that delay unfortunately doesn't manage to pay off there, but second point getting captured by the side of Freakov, but player advantage and Uber advantage on the side of Azerbaijan, so Azerbaijan actually favoring this a little bit better.
Oh my god, Lilia's still in the background. I'm pretty sure they were the one that actually got the point switched over where they should try to fight for last. Yeah. They've got the soldier and everyone running on top of that as well. Almost get another one there. But it's not just the damage, it's the delay on top of that, so... Well, yeah, they'll be pretty happy with how all things went there. They've allowed the rest of their squad to get forward on second. They've now got themselves to set up as well with the Uber, so they can just go immediately on towards middle if they want to. Possibly wait a little bit longer for this one here at Homer. Ooh, having to be careful. Manages to stay up just in the bit there. Stam almost finding a bit. Schuper as well. They're being forced back on that side. They've spotted where that med was sitting as well. They might just chase straight in towards where Lev is, down to 77 HP. Aya's on top of it. They drop that scout. They'll leave Lev alone, but at this point they've already taken complete control of this one. Lilia's back up as well, and they are doing the work on the point. Get mid back, and Freakov again. It's moments where they seem to have gained control, but then one thing where, again, they're not expecting these other players, which, to be fair, I don't think anyone would really think about that one, so you can't blame them too much. Schuper's managed to get, again, some damage. Campbell dropped. Azerbaijan Tech, they should be able to move themselves onto the fourth here.
Campbell getting taken out, and as well, obviously, Lilia as well. Spawn's coming up the side of Freakov here, however, though, Uber as well. So do they choose to try take this slight amount of ad? But I think they're just going to probably even out at the end of the day, actually. Nirvana. Oh, okay, Lev almost dies there, but Lev managed to hold on for dear life, and Uber's here just going to even out here, and we do have Lilia choosing to come up on the sniper class. So now with a little bit of a stalemate here, but Varna looks keen to get this going, and Campbell's putting immense pressure, and Varna getting caught out there, and I feel like that just must be a mistake by the side of Freakov. Uber does get popped down the side of Azerbaijan there, but it should be a little bit better. Nice pipe by Campbell onto the soldier there. However, they're having Lily on side, but definitely not ideal if you want to take a second position there. But yeah, looks like they do manage to clean up 3 players there, spawning coming up on Varna. So we do have a soldier down on the side of Azerbaijan there, but slight Uber ad still for the side of Freakov here. Lily is still on the sniper, but we do have another sniper on the side of Freakov with Dante coming up on that class here. We do see a bit of a sniper battle now in play.
Sniper v sniper if possible here. Dante gets themselves the crit hit. Doesn't come through for the kill, but they will eventually find the first there. Gamble gone. Dante with a second on APVZ as well. So nice picks there from Dante. They should be able to hold this one out. Lilia's still up, and you can see them back towards that second side here. Stam a little worried about that one. They managed to get breezed by for the time being, and now they dive in towards that sniper. Lilia, not much they can do in that situation. They're sending back to spawn. They'll most likely switch back towards the scout, but nice again from Freakov. Again, they're staying in this. It's only a 1-0 situation. This one's gone what it seems like forever. And now on a 5v6, Uber popped as well. They're trying to push in the advantage. In the end, they even out. Can they get this one going here? They've still got the advantage of one player, but they can't get that next pick that they need. And with Dante dropping, they now gets back towards that even side, and they're going to be falling back towards their 4th point.
It feels like Freakov as well. They are. I feel like they're a little bit disconnected, because especially that trade I want to highlight earlier, when Varna was trying to take an exchange. he goes too fast. Oh, actually, sorry. Before I say that, that's actually Samson getting taken out on the side of Azerbaijan, so that might slow things down for this last push. And that's actually, 40%, 50% Uber ad actually for the side of Freakoff. But back to what I was saying, I feel like Varna's playing very quick, forgetting about the medic, and Lev holding on for dear life. And unfortunately, not able to get the med there on the side of Freakoff. But Varna's playing very quick and forgetting to clear stickies. I don't know. He's going fast, and then immediately Campbell just bombs. Varna separates from the med. There's stickies on the ground. Your med and demo can't go through, and eventually gets forced, and they just feel like a little bit disjointed there. But then that last trade as well, basically turning to even Ubers. I feel like they're just playing very fast. They just want to, move it, take it in as soon as they can. But also, I feel like they are probably oh my god, Jesus, nice movement by Lev there. Probably judging these Uber ads a little bit, possibly.
Yeah, it just feels like it a bit. They in the end trade with those ones. Derpy, lovely pipes there. AO is taken out of that round, and Freakoff, they finally get themselves the double in a row. They've retaken mid control. It's been going back and forth so far. Both teams getting to that fourth point, but they can't quite finish things off at the moment. Stan, the dive in. He's forced Uber at the very least. Almost thought for a second he was going to get that air shot, but hey, the force of the Uber is not bad here, especially when it doesn't feel like there's going to be much to follow it off. And with Banner finding themselves on the homer there, Dante the portal towards the scout. They've got themselves the double. Their Uber's forced out, but it's found way more damage, and now that is going to force Azerbaijan Tech back towards their spawn. And this is where Freakoff, if they've ever got an opportunity, do they go in straight now? And I feel like they have to here. They know there's going to be at least 2 or 3 players that are going to be a little late on this one. Even if you don't have Uber, someone needs to go forward, find that pick. But again, it's just the stall out. It's enough. And now everyone back in. Now it's a 6v6. Now you feel like things are going to have to wait for Uber together. Schuper was in. Couldn't quite get out. Liliafell was derpy. And round the roundabout we go. Points of back and forth. And they'll get themselves in the fourth. Go back towards mid. Neither squad can finish this off at the moment.
Plays Schuper getting caught out there, trying to go for some sort of play, and then unfortunately getting caught in the last bit of an escape plan. But Ubers have just equalized at the end of the day here, and Azerbaijan, really good job working their way back off last year, but choosing to just stay on second and take it nice and easy. We do have a sniper coming up on Schuper, who can off-class definitely, if he chooses to snipe here, but it'll be curious to see what happens here. So very hard as well to get angles on the sniper. Schuper beefing a shot on this soldier. That is a classic. Like, that's so unfortunate there. Schuper wasn't fully standing still to get the scope 0.
I feel like that always happens though. You feel like whenever you're on sniper, you're just ready to like flick across. So when someone's actually just standing still, it sort of just puts you off. And Schuper can't fight it, then drops, so's Dante. Homer in the meantime has been taken out, but again, 5v4 advantage for Azerbaijan Tech. They'll think about trying to get themselves in towards mid here. Both Ubers up and ready for both meds. So they wait around for this one here. Who is going to be the one to, again, go in through this side? We've been going at this one for what seems like about 10 minutes. It's been close. Again, Azerbaijan Tech, they've got the 1-0 lead. I mean, realistically, it could be enough at this point if things keep going the way they are. But we have to wait and see for this one. Setups are ready. Who's going to be the first in to dive? We're looking for Schuper. We're looking for Stan. We're looking for maybe Homer APVC to jump in. But here we go. Another fight about to come together. Super already going in, going deep on the medic there. Unfortunately, though, does get taken out in the process there. And actually, Lev getting dropped. So that is what you want. That is not what you want for the side of Freakoff there. And I feel like they were a little bit deep in that sort of sack play there, just buffing the soldiers, but then stayed in a little bit too much. But unfortunately, Scout getting taken out on this, Med getting taken out on the side of Freakoff, and do see a little bit of a 1v1 Homer winning that against Stambia. That's already played down as well. Stam getting caught, and now Freakoff now on the back foot, forced back onto their second, and probably gonna have to give up this maybe and go back to last year. And tremendous ad for the side of Azerbaijan, already working their way into this alley position, already making their way under here.
and I don't think there's much resistance on this second point. It looks like a little bit, but not too much though.
Again, Shooper's going in to maybe cause a bit of disturbance, but all they find is, well, as Lilia has just finished them off as they try to get themselves deeper in towards the back line. And Medi, the Uber this time, it's going to be a bit short. Every time of both teams, they've managed to get things together, but this time around, not going to be happening here. Varna, though, does manage to drop Campbell, who doesn't really get much off that blink that he got from the Uber there. Homer gets the sentry down, but not the damage to follow up. Varna with a double. Lilia trying to stay up again, but it seems like they might have just done enough here. Freak off to keep this one. Continuing on, once again, enough done there, and we will stand again with the 5th point. It is untakeable for both teams right now. And, well, Freakoff, this time, they've got the mid advantage. They'll be able to push forward. You'd imagine they're probably going to have the opportunity to take mid. It's a roundabout. It is an interesting one, to say the least, but something's got to click, or something's got to break eventually for one of these squads.
Yeah, Azerbaijan as well actually doing a really good job building. There's Uber soon about to get there. Varna going super fast, wants to catch the medic there, but unfortunately does get shut out, and Uber gets forced out on the side of Freak Off, which is definitely what you want to see, and that's 2 soldiers down though for the side of Azerbaijan, but getting the force onto the med there, definitely what you want. And now Azerbaijan, the driver's seat, actually they lose one more. That's Lilia as well getting taken out, so not able to push in just yet, having to wait a little bit, but they do manage to get the force. They do manage to stabilize a little bit there. How the spawners coming up soon for the side of Azerbaijan there, but yeah, looks like Varna was super keen to take there, but yeah, very much slower game for both sides here. But Azerbaijan still have 1 round on the board, and if 1 round you win, basically just 1-0, I think you take those. But I think a much better game by Freakov in this. However, though, some of these last pushes are what is probably making them struggle a bit there. But now, yeah, Uber gets forced out on the side of Azerbaijan there, and yeah, no frags to say the least, but Schuper getting a really nice force and actually doing some really good jobs just trying to go for these med forces actually.
Yeah, now Campbell's being jumped on by Varna, and might find themselves a double here with Dante on top of it. They find 3 in the end as Azerbaijan, they do take the mid, but it's going to be absolutely temporarily. Samson, in the meantime, has at least managed to stay up, so him and Ayo are just going to fall back off that one again, try and build what they can. Freakov should take the 4th. They're going to have the 5th lined up again. It's going to be most likely, of course, both Ubers will be ready to go. So this is, well, how many times have we seen this happen? Are they able to try and change the narrative here somewhat to keep this one, or to tie this one up at 1 apiece? One of these teams, it feels like, has to take this at some point, or maybe we just stay 1-0 forever.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, even Uber's basically now for both sides here. Uber coming out on the side of Samson and for Azerbaijan, and yeah, Lilia on the NG here. So Azerbaijan comfortably parked on last, but technically speaking, it's... Oh, actually, no, as I say that, a move already made by the side of... Oh, Samson forces it. That is what you want, so that is definitely a good play coming out, but... Do they lose one more? They're air chasing a scout super deep, but unfortunately does back out. The fight actually does take him out again. Dante gets taken out, and that's left trying to milk on 40 alive. Uber gets popped out. That's actually worst for the side of Freakov there, and trying to salvage a move air behind, already kind of exit. Uber should fade soon to the side of Freakov there. Varna winning the fight against air, but that is actually the mid living for the side of Freakov, but Campbell getting caught out though by the soldier of Schuper, and another soldier going in as well, trying to see if they can salvage anything from this fight, and looks like Freakov are making the move back onto the second point, but retake though from the side of Azerbaijan, and Azerbaijan, Samson doing his best to live there, nice little surfing off the bullet.
Oh, that's a bit like from Stam.
Azerbaijan managed to hold on with their med and with their players.
Trying to keep this one again. The blast is there to take if they want it. Maybe there's an opportunity here. They get it towards half. Close, Derpy. Dante, Varna. They might have just done enough in the end here. It's being taken. Campbell tries to keep it up, but it's not enough. Varna gets the final tick over there, and they do get this one. It's 1 apiece. Freakov, it finally takes it. Oh, my Lord. It was a day and age. It all came together, though. After what seemed like an eternity, here we stand, 1 apiece now. Man, it's been an entertaining second map. But now, time is ticking down, so aggression from both sides, you'd imagine. It's going to work for one team, it's going to work against the other. Again, this mid-fight's so very important.
Yeah, much better game coming out from Freakoff here, but already we do see a soldier getting taken out, but that's actually Samson getting taken out as well, incredibly low HP here, and we do see both sides just sort of trading frags back and forth, and we do see Dante cleaning up a little bit. However though, Med as well down for the side of Freakoff here, so this is now getting very, very scrappy, and we do see a little bit of a flank play coming from Stam. Stam getting behind Campbell, nice 180 on the Stam there, and now frags though still going in favor of Freakoff despite the back of the incredible shot of Campbell, but this mid-fight is still going on. It's going on for an eternity. Super going for the drive-by onto the scout there, and finally, do we see? Yeah, it looks like the side of Freakoff managed to take this mid here, and finally Freakoff finding success in this map and getting around on the board after that last one, and I feel like that's definitely sort of motivated them and given them a really, really good boost in confidence.
Yeah, they're feeling it right now, and like pretty much that entire mid-fight, apart from probably the first 10 seconds, was all just, well, it was all unassisted with any sort of meds because both were dropped so early on, so it was just about win the 101s, trying to get to the packs first, and it was actually Schuper who got 2 massive kills. We saw Campbell doing some great stuff, that 180 turnaround. In the end though, Freakoff, they come out on top, but does mean, I mean, Ubers basically stay the same. Everything sort of resets. We might see again another quick fight that's going to be happening here. Freakoff, they can taste it now. They know that they can, if, again, the 4th one's here, they build up. They can take a 2-1 lead, and considering how this fight, first one started, Azerbaijan Tech, they took the first point in probably about 2 minutes in the first fight. The next one, of course, has taken about 15, and we're going to be seeing a quicker one here. As everyone's waiting, setting, Ubers are ready. Who's going to be able to take that advantage?
They need to be careful as well working into this valley position. They can't stay too deep here. They're already working their way in. They've been spotted here. So gearing up, I'm guessing, for a soldier, double soldier stack there. Do see a commit now coming out from both soldiers on the side of Freakoff here. Stam going in, doesn't manage to get anything onto the medic. Super try and go for the sorry, behind play, and Dante though winning the fight onto Homer there. So that's actually though 2 plays down for the side of, make that 3 actually on the side of Freakoff. So actually Azerbaijan only using Homer in that, and finally we do see Azerbaijan manage to push it out of a second, already taking this alley position and working away, and probably might see a trade there from both sides.
Yeah, the main thing was that Uber wasn't popped out, and that's what they were really trying to get going, was the 2 meds there. And oh, Vanna, they finally get a hit there, 103, but it took them so long. That extra 5 seconds is going to provide so much here for Campbell to push on forward as the Ubers all over for Azerbaijan Tech. They get the follow-ups. Campbell, Lilia, all finding what they want to right now. Couple of stragglers that were hanging around there for Freakoff, but they're eventually going to start falling back. Shoopers, they're trying to lead them in to see if they maybe get 1 or 2 that just walk in. They don't check above. You'd imagine most of these players will, but this could pull off very nicely here. Homer was thinking about it. I think possibly saw that.
I don't know if do you see that? Is that a 4x3?
Oh, well, they've found him now.
They found him now. I feel like he sort of saw his feet, no? That is, okay, they didn't shoot in the end, but yeah, you don't clear that spot, but yeah, a very cheeky spot Super trying to use there, but unfortunately does get taken out in the process. However, Uberad though coming up for the Azerbaijan Tech, and time though not in their favor. Soon, with only 2 minutes left there, it's Azerbaijan needing to make the move. They're already gearing up for this push here. Uber coming up shortly for the side of the and they are looking for this left-hand push. Uber gets popped out to the side of Azerbaijan, already swarming to last year. Air want to get a bit of time on point, but it does. Instead of that, does cross onto the scatter, does mentioning out. Lilia getting some good time on the point there. Point is gets hit. Point does get touched for the side of Freakoff there. However though, Frag's getting very, very messy there. APVC jumping behind onto Derpy there. Does mention trade there with Derpy, and Air still alive in this push. Uber gets popped out finally on the side of Freakoff, but Azerbaijan just legging it with Air and Samson and Air living it, and Dante trying to take it for the 1v1 here, dodging, and Weaving does manage to live, and Uber though in favor of Azerbaijan, but Freakoff probably having to use it. If not using, then that's probably definitely the round. So Azerbaijan now in a pretty good advantage, having a pretty good Uber ad actually based off that sort of last push.
Yeah, it's actually better than it was before. So now it's 75 to 33%, and Freakoff, they're desperately trying to get that one together again. You're going to only have the level 1 sentry, maybe up to level 2. I very much doubt that at this point, because they're going to know they want to go as quickly as possible as they did last time. The moment they hit that 100, so who's going to be the first one off here? Man, what's going to be taking these first fights up forward? It was actually a bit of damage being done there from Schuper. Release delays for a little second. They get themselves rid of the sentry. 3 on the point, doing damage. Campbell, Schuper dives in. Banner as well. They're doing enough, it feels like, but in the end, it could just be enough to air if they can find themselves a double. They get another one on the banner. It's all left to just mid. Dante Lev can't hold it up. And Azerbaijan Tech, they retake the lead 2-1 now.
The Shupa think it. Wait, hang on a second. The Shupa think the game is over? He just left. I think did he forget it's Benny? Okay. I think Shupa. So obviously, I think Shupa did not realize it's
It was off for an early night.
Yeah, I thought I think he forgot about the config. I think, but anyway.
Well, I wonder who wins mid.
Yeah,
mid here on 5v6.
A bit of a 5v6 situation, and looks like I think this is going in favor. I think we know the team that has probably more players than Azerbaijan. Trooper, eager to hop on.
Yeah, that's not something they want to be saving away for this one, but it happens. But that's all that happens there. And we've also been told the observer for this evening has decided to... he's also headed off. So, everyone just thought the game was done. They've gone for, to bed, for a beverage. Who knows? Because it's still early for a few people. If you're over in Western Australia, it's only just ticked into 6:30. But there is still a game going on right now, so we eagerly await for everyone to make their way back into the server. Because Freakoff, I mean, they're not in a good position here, but they technically can still win this.
I mean, it's definitely a much closer game. Shupa finally back in the server. He thought it was a early night there, and he's actually committed on the spy.
He needs the big spy play to make up for it, I reckon.
He needs to go quick with this. He's got the air on the point. That's round. A very, very dramatic end to the map of Metalworks, but
very good.
2-0 as we kind of predicted for the side of Azerbaijan. There, I feel like Freakoff a much better performance coming up for them on this map on Metalworks, but obviously near the end, a bit unfortunate that Shupa thought the game was over and just left very, very last minute. But I feel like overall, though, when you look at these logs on your screen, Azerbaijan Air again hitting his shots. Lilia hitting his shot. You have Air only doing this time a little touch more, but I feel like as well, depending on how the game was going, it's definitely a lot more slower, and you definitely saw both teams what their soldiers were doing, especially with some of these sack plays they're going for. But 26 kills on Lilia, but you also look at the side of Freakoff though, Derpy again only getting 158 damage on demo, which is not ideal. In this in the level, Campbell actually playing incredibly well, so a little bit better, I'd say, yes, stat-wise, 9 for 9, but I feel like there's still probably some teething issues or some things they need to work out on the side of Freakoff, especially the way how they want to play. But despite, obviously, the soldiers of Shupa and Stam Shupa having more of a rough one, having a bit of a rough game, obviously to 163 DPM, but Shupa, though, going in for sort of these hero plays and actually surprisingly getting some worthwhile picks despite dying 25 times. But it feels like the side of Freakoff, Shupa especially was very sort of focused on just trying to go for the medic. It didn't look like he wanted to go for sort of anything else with sort of his sack plays when we were on his cam.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's one of those things. You look at the end of the scoreboard. Look, Azerbaijan Tech, I think we look at that and we say, yeah, they deserve to come out winners overall. Freakoff, though, I think you take a lot of positives out of that. I mean, Vanna on the damage, especially the 6,394 for that side. It's just that finishing off. I mean, Lilia definitely wasn't as much damage in that segment, but 26 kills, just there at the right time. They're playing that scout to perfection, where you're following up on that damage that Campbell, Homer, and APVZ are able to put together, and that in the end is what was the difference maker. Again, I feel like your soldiers are never going to be the ones with the most kills. They're always going to be you're going in, you're trying to drop med, you're trying to do as much as you can on that side. In the end, drops are one apiece, so there wasn't much difference in that one, but you just felt that they were able to work a little bit more in cohesion. And again, look, this is the second round of the season. You're going to be, things are going to come to you a lot more as you go week by week, but you take some positives. Out from there, Azerbaijan,
I mean,
they come out the winners though, and I think deservedly so.
I'm looking at the logs as well. I mean, this definitely, despite the scoreline, it is actually, I feel like, a lot closer game. These mid fights, 2 for 2 for both teams. But even when you look at as well, I feel like Azerbaijan, yes, it was close, but they played super, especially with the building. 54 seconds average time to build for Samson on the side of Azerbaijan. So a lot of the times when Freakov were pushing in, Ubers were just pretty much even, or Azerbaijan were just going to get Uber for post, basically. So I feel like, yes, there's still probably things to still work on for the side of Freakov. However, overall, a better map for the side for them on Metalworks, definitely a lot more closer. However, end of the day, Azerbaijan took it 2-0, a little bit closer on Metalworks, but end of the day, you get your points, you get your standings, and yeah, I feel like, Freakov sort of, still early days, but when you look at the final standings, you still have Bowls in first place, Dancy dropping down to second, Azerbaijan moving up to third. Keep in mind, this was only week 2. Some teams have yet to play their games. Woganco 4th, Digger Family 5th, 6 SMYB, 7 TTT, 8 Ascension, and 9 Freakov. So yeah, this is after week 2 so far for the Azerbaijan Freakov game. As I said earlier, not final if teams have yet to play their games. But no, I think overall Azerbaijan, played really well. 2-0, and I think something they should be happy about. Freakov, I feel like, yes, still early days, but, as people say, back to analyzing the data, as ones would say in the world of Formula 1.
Yes, the data, back to the drawing board as well, just to go over a few things. Look, I mean, both teams will go over the VOD reviews. There'll be things they like and things that they will look to try and fix up. As Azerbaijan Technology, of course, they jump up to third. Of course, there still are 4 teams that are yet to clock in for their 4th games or their second round games, so that, of course, will change momentarily, or at least in the next couple of days there. But from 8th to 3rd, at least where it stands, they'll be pretty happy with that one. But, well, a 5-0, a 1-3 from Azerbaijan Technology, and for Freak Out, they at least get themselves on the board with a map, because both teams, of course, was 5-0, 4-0. They'd lost across the board in the first round, so positives you can take out there. At least, you're not on 0.
Yes, that's always important. And I feel like Freakov as well, despite the loss, they should be happy about their Metalworks performance. I feel like there's definitely still a few gelling issues, especially with some of the Ubers they're taking. Varna probably playing a little bit too fast for the likes of Lev, who knows? But there's definitely some stuff they can look over. I feel like Metalworks definitely a lot to take out. But I'm reading my little lovely Discord chat. I have been notified about a thing we should plug, and I'm not sure if you'll be there, Mr. HazDaddy, but we do have a wonderful Brisbane LAN coming up in January. A little bit of a summer brawl, 17th of Jan. A lovely Saturday. The first LAN of the year of every year that we've been doing. Summer Brawl will be back next year at January 17th. I will be there, Snazzy will be there, HazDaddy, who knows, if you want to fly up to Brisbane and endure the very
Mitch can fly me out. Actually, I've got confirmation in the headphone right now. Mitch is flying me up and buying my accommodation. So thank you very much, Mitch. I'll see you all there. It should be absolutely fantastic.
It should be a very fun day. It's a very enjoyable little LAN. Venue, yes, is a little bit smaller, but the wonderful Bliss HQ. Come enjoy. Snazzy will be on the barbecue, most likely cooking up some nice sausages. But yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys there, January 17th. But otherwise, there's nothing else really to say. Congratulations to Azerbaijan Technology for taking the W there, 2-0, very good for their standings. Freakov, commiserations to them, but definitely a closer series for the side of Freakov. I guess, before we sign off, a couple of replays here. Nice little Campbell demo replay here, but anything you want to say, HazDaddy? Any sort of shout-outs or anything you want to say final before we say goodbye and good night?
Yeah, I mean, I'll shout out to yourself, guys. It's always nice to be back on the mic with you. To Mitch in the background, to Shig, who is our beautiful observer who decided to call it a night pretty quickly before the game was ending. I guess a good shout-out to also Shupa, who was our other lever of that things, but where everyone's tucked into bed now. We're going to have a good night's sleep, and we'll be back for more action soon enough, Ghost. Anything you'd like to say to Send us on our way.
I have Sheeper on Steam. I thought he was going to hop on Monster Hunter after this scare. Anyway, and look, I mean, thank you for casting with me tonight, and obviously thank you for both teams for playing tonight. Very, very good game on both teams. Tonight. Obviously, congratulations for Azerbaijan Technology. Commiserations to Freakoff. Someone said that I have a bowl cut, apparently. I did get a haircut today, and yes, there's no product in my hair. But anyway, look, that's about it. Otherwise, yeah, we'll catch you sometime next week. Who knows when? But otherwise, yeah, stay safe. Good night, and we'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye. Nice. Did my mic go?
Right before we've started this and really getting into this. I'm sure they'll be sending me death threats for this video. That was so much confidence there. Yeah, kill me. Oh, by the way, thank you very much for offering to fly me up and accommodation, Mitch. You're too kind. Be a little bit hard. I don't know. You needed like a Spirit of Tasmania that goes up. It cost me a bit to drive up as it would fly. Well, I was gonna say, Odie was already at me going, "Oh, have you been said anything about the fucking 6 lanes in Sydney?" I'm like, nope. I don't think I'll be going to that one, which, I mean, that's fine. But Mr. Potence thinks he will be, which he probably will, because they'll need a translator, and no one else in the world speaks Korean, so it's perfect. And he's also in Sydney, so that does favour him. Yeah, we had a chat about it. Also, apparently our mics are still on. Oh, they are still on. Hey, guys!